In this video, I will share with you guys the truth of Singapore's life as told by a local. Right in front is the HDB or the public housing development board flats. It's a public housing by Singapore, so don't be surprised if you see so many tall kind of pigeonhole apartments. Actually part of the government's effort to build the low-cost housing for the public, but then the price is not really affordable. I mean, not really like low. It comes from 300,000 onwards, depending on the location. That's for a two-room flat. The thing is, everything is expensive in Singapore, from taking bus, MRT, eating makan, drinking, shopping, and even cutting your hair. So this because every year the price increase. The price of chicken rice used to be like $2 a plate, but now do you know what the price is? It's like $5, $6, $7. That's like 2-3 times, right? And not only that, if you buy a mineral water, one bottle, it costs you at least like 60, 80 cents nowadays. Last time it used to be like 30 cents. The bus is efficient, but they are limited seating. So today is a Sunday. You can see the elderly people and women standing. There's a sad story. In Singapore, you need to walk a lot every single day. No matter where do you stay, at least you walk at least 2 kilometers to 5 kilometers every single day because you have no choice. Let's say the bus is doesn't come and you waited a long time, and then secondly you'll be like for work purpose, you want to travel from your work to the MRT, the bus stop, and there are no bus available. And then even if you arrive at some places, the Grab car or the taxi can only bring you so far, and then from there you need to walk, especially for some tourist destinations. To be frank, if I'm a tourist, I just come to Singapore one time and that's it, because most of the things are just like this. They're not really like special. Maybe the street food like the nasi lemak, the kaya toast, chicken rice, laksa, and then travel to Garden by the Bay, Sentosa, Orchard Road, Vivo City, Chinatown. Most of these places is just like go to one time and you can find the assignment will fit over time. The second time you go and try. Another misconception is Singaporeans are very rich. I would just say the salary is not bad. I mean, from like 3,000 to 4,000 for an average office job, but then if you're looking at retail, of course, it's lower. But then one thing important to note is that the cost of living is also so high in Singapore. For example, if you rent a room in Singapore, it can cost you up to 1,000 Singapore dollars, and if you eat every day 3 meals, then one meal, let's say, is $7 including drinks, so one day about $20, so you multiply by 30, that's $600 a day. So after deducting for the food and the rent of the room, how much you have to save, you can save, and then you will deduct the transport as well, the MRT, the bus, and the rest of them you can take the Grab or the taxi, because you want to save the money to send back to your parents in your homeland, or maybe you want to buy a house in your home. So that's what many foreigners think. Come to Singapore and be rich in a few years, you can buy a house back your homeland, but this is not the truth. And one thing is that there are so many laws in Singapore. If you cannot find something for like throwing a can of drink elsewhere, not in the litter bin, or you smoke in non-restricted areas, then you have to pay the fine again. Then the fine can be for $300 Singapore dollars, and that is bad. MRT of Singapore. This is Orchard MRT Metro, one of the downtown lines. I mean, one of the most centralized MRT stations. Singapore is very urbanized, so they don't have the natural resources and certain stuff like the rivers. We only have a Singapore River. For the beaches, East Coast Park and West Coast Park, and that's to it. It's not really too much, not really many. So if you've been to Singapore just 1 or 2 times, you'll just be like, oh, is there more to offer? One of the more expensive stuff in Singapore with the medicine as well as the vitamins. If you enjoyed the video so far, subscribe and like so that more people can find the video. Thanks very much. The bad thing about being Singaporean is that we like to complain every small thing. We write email complaint, call until we get apology or some kind of compensation. And Singaporeans, they look kind of stressful because the high cost of living is somewhat untolerable for some of the people who have low income or middle income, because they have many kids to raise. so they worry about putting the food on the table every single day for 3 meals, because you know one meal costs about $7 at the food court, include one drink and one main dish. So if you get 3 meals a day, there'll be $21, and then multiply by 30 days a month, so there's $660 per person. If you have 2 kids, that's $1,320. With 3 kids, $1,980. But of course, most family they will try to cook the dinner, but for lunch and breakfast they will try to eat outside, because the kids have to go to school and then the parents have to go to work, right? I'll just tell you frankly, guys, it's boring to stay in Singapore if you are a citizen. Even in weekends, we go to pubs and some of the tourist places. Ultimately, there's not much fun or not much enjoyment in all these activities unless you're with your loved one. That's another story. If you're a single traveler, then I'll just advise you come to Singapore one time and then you gauge how is it like before you decide on next trip to Singapore, because firstly, everything is so expensive. Secondly, it's like the experiences may not be what you expect, and thirdly, if you're a guy, then the Singapore girls may not appeal to you, and then you feel like kind of frustrated, why this way, why that way, and then the culture as well. So the bad news is the cost of living will keep on increasing, not only in Singapore, in whole world, but then in the developed country, it tends to increase more, like Singapore, Tokyo, Hong Kong, all these countries. One more thing you may observe is there are many elderly or elderly folks working over the age of 70 in the food court or cleaners. This is not what they wanted. It's not by choice, but because by circumstances, they actually feel very pressured by the high cost of living, that they struggle to put rice on the table to eat for their meal every single day. So I have a friend who come from other country, and the friend said that how come these uncles over 70 years old are still working in the service industry. They are quite shocked because in their country they already retire at the age of 55, 60. So at 70 they are still working. The cleaners, the uncles are still working at the age of 70 or even 80 years old. This is something my friend cannot ever understand. So I told my friend that this is part of the culture and part of the circumstances. It's not because they wanted this way, but because of their circumstances. Like if they no work, they don't have a job, and no job, they will get hungry, and they get hungry, then they may die, right? I'll just advise the young Singaporeans to save money and not anyhow spend, because inflation, cost of living will keep on rising, and the job stability in Singapore may not be so stable in the future. You must have a backup plan. If you are a normal person, depending on your parents, if you are just an average person, then besides studying hard, you need to really think about what you want to do in the future, your career, and then save money and maybe do some investment. But then once again, the dividends and the returns on investment in Singapore is low unless you go and play the stock. That's another story. But if you do like government bonds and put your money in the bank, no matter which bank you put, the return, the percent, the interest rate really like peanuts. And for the Singapore men out there, think carefully if you want to marry a Singapore woman, because it may not turn out what you expected. In Singapore, there are 2 cases. The first one will be Kiasu. Kiasu is a Hokkien word. Kia means afraid and Su means lose. So Kiasu means afraid to lose. It's applied in every situation, from like queuing up for the bus. They want to be the first to board the bus, to like ordering the food in a restaurant. They want to be the first to be served and eat. Then for the kids, the parents want their kids to be the first in their class and go to the best university, get the best job with the highest pay. The second K will be Kiasi. Kia is afraid, and Si means to die in Hokkien, so Kiasi means afraid to die. This applies in certain circumstances, like for example, we see the Singaporeans see people fighting, and then the Singaporean will not help to stop the fight, will not call the police, but instead they will try to do a photo or video and then put it on social media. This is not very good, but because they do this because they are afraid to be beaten up by the people who are fighting, and then they'll end up in hospital. This is part of their Kiasi mentality. This is very common, and not only in the fights but in other situations as well. For example, in the public, they see somebody doing something illegal, so the Singaporean will just keep quiet and may not report to the police. And because if you report to the police, you must go to the police station and take a statement, and there's a lot of time wasted, right? More of the Singaporean women dressing, their dress sense now. you cannot stop the Akyong from coming to Singapore or any foreign nationalities. But then we try to accept them. But then it's like sometimes they try to insult the Singaporeans. They say that Singapore is very small, and then they are very proud of their Chinese and say that the Singapore Chinese is not the same as theirs, and look down on the Chinese of Singaporeans and look down on the small size of Singapore and more other things. They think that they are more clever than Singaporeans. But let me tell you the truth, I've been to many parts of China, like the Harbin, Shanghai, Beijing, even the rural area like the Daqing, Jinan, all these places I've been before. It's just like every country have their good and bad. For China people, they actually like to speed on public, cut queue, and say lots of vulgar words. That's the truth. These three things you can ask any people who have been to China, including foreigners, not only Singaporeans. They will tell you they have been through these three experiences. The first one, the China people like to speak in the public. Secondly, they like to cut the queue. They say you're in a restaurant, and then suddenly you're not alert. They'll just appear in front of you, and then what do you do then? You confront them or you just leave it? And then the third one will be, as I said, you like to swear and curse, vulgar words. I will not say the words here, but it's very, very rude. It's a nice hairstyle, by the way. I'll end my video right now. Thanks everyone for subscribing and watching. And take care. I'd like to see you guys in the next video. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe so that you get the latest update. Thanks very much. And yeah, take care. I will maybe do a follow-up video in the next few weeks.